President Muhammadu Buhari signs the 2022 appropriation bill into law. Budget of 17.126 trillion naira has an increase of over 700 billion over the original 16.391 trillion presented to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. Political parties get set for a busy 2022 as key battles in Ekiti and Osun loom. Crucial talks and alliances projected ahead of the 2023 general elections. Also on Political Update today, we will evaluate INEC's efforts, the efforts of INEC, to improve the nation's electoral processes and consult the crystal ball for the fortunes of political parties as momentum begins to gather for another push towards the general elections in 13 months. These and more today on the program. I am Fisayo Gonfui. Thank you for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the 2022 appropriation bill into law in a brief ceremony at the council chambers of the presidential villa. The budget of 17.126 trillion naira is more than 700 billion naira over the original figure of 16.391 trillion naira presented by the president to the joint sitting of the National Assembly on the 7th of October 2021. The president, who expressed his gratitude to the National Assembly for maintaining a cordial relationship with the executive, promised to do everything possible to implement the budget.
As provided for in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Finance Bill 2021 is particularly critical for the successful implementation of the 2022 budget. Its passage further underscores our firm commitment to regularly support federal appreciation bills with finance bills designed to facilitate their implementation. The fiscal year 2022 is very crucial in our efforts to complete and put to use critical agenda projects, as well as improve the general living conditions of our people. It is in this regard that I must express my reservations about many of the changes that the National Assembly has made to the 2022 executive budget proposal.
And still talking of the performance of government in delivering its programs and projects, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says in spite of the global challenge of COVID-19 and the menace of insecurity, the current administration has recorded tremendous achievements in 2021. He spoke at a media briefing in Lagos.
We have called to brief you on the achievements of the Buhari administration in 2021.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed presenting the federal government's scorecard for the year 2021. Acknowledging the challenges, he said infrastructure remained top priority, with the second Niger bridge hitting 78% completion, with no fewer than 2,676 households benefiting from the federal government's 5,000 naira cash transfers every month. The armed forces, he pointed out, has recorded successes using a combination of kinetic and non-kinetic operations.
Our biggest challenge in the outgoing year has been in the area of security. Despite the enormity of the challenges, however, our military has continued to live up to their billing. We owe them a debt of gratitude for their patriotism and sacrifice.
In the oil and gas sector, the minister noted the level of transparency that has been injected into the NNPC.
The passage and signing into law of the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, is a landmark achievement. Many have described it as the most profound event in the Nigerian oil and gas space in the last 20 years.
Giving a blow-by-blow account on how the economy has fared, Lai Mohammed was specific.
Posting of a whopping 287 billion profit after tax by the NNPC. So the first time in 44 years that the corporation has recorded such a feat, which the NNPC attributed to aggressive cost-cutting measures, Cost savings through renegotiation of contracts are up to 30%. Improve efficiency through business automation. Emphasis on commercially focused investment and non-interference in the management of the corporation affairs.
The Works and Housing Ministry, on its part, has executed roads, highways, and bridges across the country, saying some completed, others ongoing. The private sector, the minister said, is being carried along in the process.
An area in which the present administration has distinguished itself is in the provision of key infrastructure.
Aviation, on its part, has been strengthened to produce world-class avionics for the country, while water and sanitation witnessed about 159 projects constructed in the year under review. National Social Investment Program on the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari was equally expanded from 500,000 to 1 million. Information and communication technology sector emerged a game changer in growing the nation's economy.
The telecommunications sector alone recorded a growth rate of 15.9%, representing its highest growth rate in the last 10 years.
Lai Mohammed, however, urged Nigerians not to relent in supporting the nation's security forces in their efforts and sacrifices to keep the country safe. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari this Thursday received an audience his predecessor, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan was not the only visitor, as Abia State Governor Okezie Ikpeazu was also at the State House.
This is the second time the former Nigerian leader is visiting President Muhammadu Buhari in the last 3 months. Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is currently the special envoy and mediator of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to Mali. ECOWAS had, during its 60th ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government, vowed to impose additional economic and financial sanctions on Mali if by the end of this month no concrete progress is made in preparation for elections. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, who has been leading mediation talks with Malian authorities, is here to perhaps brief President Muhammadu Buhari on his efforts at safeguarding democratic order in the West African nation. Details of their meeting, held behind closed doors for about 30 minutes, were not made public. Meanwhile, the president also granted audience to the governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu. Their meeting, similarly held behind closed doors, centered on developments in the God's own state and indeed the southeast region.
We like the redevelopment of the airport at Enugu, and we think that there must be a purpose for which the president allowed that redevelopment and investment in that airport, which, to my mind, is to create a gateway to the outside world from Enugu. That is one. Two, everybody knows about the second Niger bridge. That has never been done before, and we think that we need to encourage the president to complete that project quickly within his time and hand it over to our people. If you experience the logjam at the Onitsha Head Bridge and how it impacts negatively on the economy of Anambra and Delta and the entire Southeast, then you'll be able to project into what it will tell, assuming we have that bridge in place.
The governor also brought the president up to speed about the Enyimba Economic City, a futuristic project jointly funded by the federal and state governments as well as the private sector.
Enyimba Economic City is indeed the hope of Nigeria to play strong in the Continental Free Trade Agreement in Africa. It is also the hope for Nigeria to provide 625,000 jobs for our teeming youths. Our desire is to ensure that sometime next year, very soon, we'll be able to invite Mr. President to come and do the groundbreaking for that transgenerational project as one of his legacies in government. And there's a law from the Abia State House of Assembly, endorsed by my humble self, which gives it that quasi-independence and autonomy to operate. And there are interests within and outside Nigeria also on that project. I would want to say that the best thing for us to do is to wait at the dining table. We are in the kitchen now. The food will be ready very soon.
Governor Ikeazu made a case for Nigerians to give the necessary support to President Muhammadu Buhari in his genuine efforts at bequeathing enduring legacies for posterity. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, the year 2021 was eventful. It proved to be a proper testing ground for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in its deployment of new technologies to strengthen the nation's electoral processes. Let's look at some of the highlights from the umpire.
It was December 9, 2020. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu were reappointed as INEC chairman, and the staff happy. Praises from the staff, promise from Mahmoud.
We hope to introduce a new technology.
Just a single agenda, digitizing INEC operations. So 2021 was a year of technological revolution, as it were. First, the commission goes to the communities for the creation of more polling units.
To unveil the new polling units in Nigeria.
25 years old jinx broken. Additional 56,872 polling units created, bringing the total number of polling units in Nigeria to 176,846. More polling units, a forerunner to the continuous voter registration exercise. In June 2021, the continuous voters registration started, and in December, over 7 million registered.
All being replaced with this.
The birth of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, sends smart card reader and Z-pad to extinction. A Soko South State constituency by-election in Delta State was the laboratory for the test of this new device in September. Each is noticed, and INEC says they are surmountable. Then the Anambra governorship election, BVAS didn't behave well. INEC admitted the failure once again. Another round of assurance.
We wish to assure Nigerians that the Commission has reviewed the performance of the BVAS in Anambra State, and there will be tremendous improvement leading to optimal performance in future elections. The BVAS has come to stay.
The much talked about electoral bill is still shuttling the National Assembly and the presidential villa. A dominant point is the direct primaries proposed in that document, and the president declined for obvious reasons. That is 2021, and in 2022, INEC is quite busy. 68 constituencies to elect 6 area council chairmen and 62 councillors on February 12 in the Federal Capital Territory, Ekiti governorship election on the 18th of June, and Osun governorship election July 16th, while 8 pending by-elections also on the timetable for INEC in 2022. Party primaries already here, and INEC sticking its neck to see the preparations by the parties.
Political parties must therefore hold themselves to the same high standard of free, fair, transparent, and credible elections that they expect from INEC during general elections.
With all these elections in the year 2022, quite an engaging year, you may say. Yes, it is. But it is even more engaging than you may think, because majority of activities for the 2023 general elections coming up in February will be performed in the year 2022. I may say about 70 to 80% of the activities slated for the 2023 general elections will be performed in 2022. INEC has already proposed 305 billion naira for that exercise. So you now agree with me that the year 2022 is not only for these major elections, but considerable time will also be devoted for 2023. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Thank you, Mia, for that. 305 billion naira proposed. I must say, even your report is priceless. Let's go to today's discussion. I have Jide Ojo, a political analyst, right here with me. It's been quite a busy year, as we alluded to in our reports running off to the discussion. INEC has a stable full for 2022. The political parties, too, are chomping at the bit. What are you expecting? First, looking at the climate and eventually the weather forecast for 2021. At the end of it, the very last day now of 2021, look back and see exactly the weather forecast did it meet expectation.
Interesting. Interesting. Thanks for having me in Fisayo. The year is gradually we're counting down. It's 3 hours to the end of the year. And then the weather forecast about elections and electoral reforms, well, it's cloudy at this point, not particularly when you look at the electoral reform agenda, which wasn't, the last time I was there, I was quite optimistic that maybe the president was going to give us a New Year or a Christmas gift. It didn't turn out that way. And there have been a lot of media frenzy around why he did it. And even after his communication to the National Assembly, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice have granted a couple of interviews. Even the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Malam Garbashi, was also weighing. But many Nigerians are not convinced why the president refused assent on that. But the National Assembly has gone on recess, and they said, well, when they resume on January 18, they are going to consult and take a decision. I know one of 4 decisions will be made. That's my postulation. That's my forecast.
Let's before we go to even the main, first of all, we need to look at, because what we're going to look at the moment, yes, it's 2022, but everybody has an eye over the window at 2023. Everything, the momentum is to 2023. What are you expecting? First, you saw the analysis there, especially from Yogidi's report, in terms of the behavior of the performance of the technology that was deployed. Now you don't even have one state. You are talking of all over the country at a time. How do we, in terms of response time, when things come up like that, how do we respond and all that? Apart from that, we look at even political parties. We know what normally happens. The frenzy, that the momentum does when we get in towards elections of this magnitude. So what exactly are you expecting, especially in the political terrain and the umpire itself? What have we learned from the laboratory, as we said, of Anambra elections, and then moving on to the 2 elections?
After every election, INEC is wont to conducting what they call post-election audit, and I think they must have held the one after the November 6 and 9 Anambra governorship election. So we are expecting that the lessons learned from Anambra will be used first for the February 12, 2022 area council elections in FCT, and it is that will be the barometer to know whether by June and then later in the year, when Osho and Ekiti election will be held, whether INEC could get a kudo or knocks for deployment of additional technology. Because a biometric voter accreditation system device, I was there when it was showcased to members of civil society. I was at that quarterly meeting. And the ICT director of INEC told us in a very certain way that this is a game changer for 2023, because the beavers has dual purpose. Unlike smart card reader, where it's only your fingerprint that it can read, beavers can read your fingerprint, your iris, that's your eyes, iris is within the eyeballs. Then it can also be scanned, like you scan a document. If you want to buy stuffs in the supermarket, the price tag can be scanned.
Yes.
So those 3 things can be done by beavers. The question is, why did beavers fail in Anambra? See, different excuses have been given. Some said because of last minute abandonment by those who have been trained to use it because of fear of insecurity. INEC had to deploy people who were ill-trained or were never trained to man these devices. But all of that, we pray, will be put to pass. So on February 12th, it will be another test case for INEC, whether beavers and other technological inputs will be improved upon. But beyond that, there is ongoing continuous voter registration exercise, which people are still very lackadaisical about. And I tell you, by September next year, everybody will be asking, INEC should give more days, more time. Meanwhile, it's been on since June 28th, where you do pre-registration, online pre-registration. That's also infusion of technology into the electoral process. You do pre-registration, all your data will be will be typed
Captured, yes.
captured on a portal, and then you get a date where you go and do the fingerprint biometric capturing, as we do for international passports, driving license, and a host of other, including BVN, if you want to collect your BVN in banks. So, those biometric capturing is what you now do physically, but the pre-registration now has been on since June 28th, which is another plus for INEC. INEC is also doing a lot in terms of candidate nomination process is now online. The accreditation of observers, journalists, and party agents is now 100% online. So there is no more sending by courier your application to be accredited as observer group or whatever. Everything you upload on the portal. The news came out yesterday, about 50 or 52 CSOs have been accredited for February 12th election in FCT, the council election. Then you look at political parties, you mentioned them. APC has tentatively scheduled its convention for February. Although the details of that is not yet out, which is why people are saying it's tentative, because by now you will have known who are the committee members, the people who will have been buying form, screening and all of that. February is just about some 32 days away, 31 days away actually. So, but at least we are told that that convention will hold in February. A number of political parties will also schedule their convention for that before talking about party primaries. Now, the issue of primary is very contentious. But before I go to primaries, the expeditious nature of the National Assembly response to the withholding of assent by the president is very, very key. The reason why I said that is this. Apart from what the president communicated to the National Assembly in his letter, or veto letter, saying why he withheld assent, the president only dwelt on issue of primaries.
Yeah, we had the last program, we had two members of the House of Assembly. In fact, I had the senator on Tuesday as well, and they're saying there'll be a meeting in January. They will resume it on the 18th of January, and then they will deliberate, and then perhaps even...
But what I want to flag is the position of civil society. I received a memo from Yaga Africa that articulated no less than 8 cross-referencing errors. Not less than 8 cross-referencing errors in that bill. And I was at a quandary why that was not flagged by the president in his communication. Recall that in 2018, which is why I'm having a feeling of deja vu. In 2018, the first withholding of assent by the president was on clause 25, which tend to give directive to INEC that INEC should hold the election on 3 days. Then they should hold the National Assembly election first, followed by presidential, then followed by governorship and state house of assembly. And the president latched on that to say, I will not assent to this. There are other 2 clauses, making 3. But the second withdrawal of assent was on issue of clerical error and cross-referencing error. And these errors are now extant in the bill, which was not flagged by the president.
Perhaps take that the position that maybe because time is not our friend, maybe we'll even continue again on Tuesday. We'll just have a minute or two. Perhaps that wouldn't even be the fault of those who are saying there's a problem with. How about those who actually, presented the bill and didn't dot their I's and T's, cross their T's even before then? But I'm my director saying the time is not our friend. Of course, this is the last edition of the program. Jidu has been quite eloquent. In his submission, perhaps we'll continue this report next year, which is just Tuesday next week. That has been political update for today. 2022 has been great. 2021 has been great. We're hoping that 2022 will be a wonderful year, especially with us and our friends on Political Update, where we give you the very best of news reviews, previews, and interviews, urging you to play your politics for the greater good, and urging the political parties not just to be platforms, but also to be leaders of ideology as well as we move into the new year. Selgunfi is the name. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful year ahead. Bye-bye now.
Nigeria.